Hello everyone and welcome back to the PlayStation 2 Retrospective, the show where I take a look at PS2 games on anything but an actual PS2. Today we're going to be taking a look at Max Payne, a third-person shooter that's often cited as one of the best games ever made. You know, like most older games that we look at on this channel. Payne was originally released on July 23rd, 2001, and developed by Remedy Entertainment as only their second game as a company. What the fuck? Is that true? I wish the second thing I ever made was fucking near perfect. So the biggest question is, does it live up to the status after almost 20 years? Spoiler alert, it fucking does. Speaking of spoiler alerts, the main story is told as one giant flashback over the past few nights of Max's life, following the murder of his wife and baby daughter by a couple of drug addicts. Yeah, you heard that shit right. Within the first 10 minutes of the game, Remedy stuffed the wife in the fridge and just tossed a baby in there for good measure. Following that, Max transfers from the NYPD to the DEA and goes undercover into the Punchinello crime family. Apparently, those addicts were addicted to a designer drug known as Valkyr, which the Punchinellos distribute. 3 years after his family's murder, Max gets a call from his partner Alex, who also happens to be his best friend. Max and Alex are supposed to meet at the train station, at night, all alone. When Max gets there...
Alex? Alex!
Yeah, by this point, it felt like Max Payne had just slipped into accidental comedic territory. With the needlessly large cast of characters with hilarious names, a seemingly heavy reliance on dramatic character deaths, some interesting line deliveries to say the least, and some pretty goofy pictures used for the graphic novel cutscenes. But Remedy actually ends up telling an extremely intriguing crime story. Max hunts down some big criminals, meets a woman named Mona Sachs, who's the evil twin sister of Don Punchinello's wife. Said Mafia Don dies. Max gets double-crossed as well as drugged on multiple fucking occasions, and he finds out who was not only behind the drug Valkyr, but who ordered the hit on Max's family and Alex. Turns out it was the CEO of Acer Pharmaceuticals, named Nicole Horn, who you don't see till the final act of the game. She doesn't last very long. Oh, nigga! Max gets arrested for murdering about 98% of New York's criminals, and then the game ends. Yes, I skipped over a mountaintop full of shit in that synopsis, but if you played the game, do you know it already? And if you don't, then why did you listen to a spoiler-filled review of a game expecting to hear all of the details? What am I, fucking Spark Notes? Longtime viewers of the channel will know that I'm not a big fan of writing or even recording synopses, what the fuck? I don't like summarizing entire stories in my videos, but I just love the work that Remedy did so much that I had to break out of my comfort zone. While it may be very, very easy to laugh at certain parts of the game, Sam Lake's storytelling, as well as Jay McCaffrey's voice work as Max, do an amazing job of bringing you into the underbelly of New York and keeping you there until the ending releases you. A majority of Max's dialogue is actually an internal monologue, and this is one of the few instances where I wasn't really bothered by it at all. Max is a fascinating character to listen to. His drug-induced nightmares surrounding his family's murder give the player a never-ending reminder of what this is all for. Max is almost like an Avenger, in the literal sense that is. He's not an angel, he ain't a devil, he's just there to kill those who did him wrong. And the fact that Lake was able to write a character like that without turning him into a walking piece of cardboard is beyond commendable. The huge cast of characters all serve a purpose in the story, for the most part, but most importantly is that none overstay their welcome whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I wish some had more screen time, like Vladimir. While this is obviously a game, there was far more work put into making an enthralling story and world for the player to follow, but that's not really a bad thing. Max Payne had beyond limited resources. The dev team consisted of only 21 people, which isn't small, but not big either. The graphic novel cutscenes were done to save money and was more effective for the storytelling. The designers took a trip to New York to take pictures for ideas of map layout, but to also make textures for the game. I mean, the game's budget was so small that Sam Lake, the aforementioned story and scriptwriter, was also the likeness for Max Payne himself in both cutscenes and gameplay, giving us those infamous facial expressions. Even his own mother ended up playing Nicole Horn. So, instead of stretching themselves thin by creating a complex story and innovative gameplay, they had one idea: bullet time. something that was popularized by The Matrix 2 years beforehand, but it's a technique that both got from Hong Kong action films. As a result, Max Payne is a pretty standard shooter. There's no cover mechanic, which means that you're always on the move. Max has very little health, but both painkillers and ammo can be easily found pretty often if you just keep progressing through the level. Without bullet time, it's a fun and often challenging shooter, but with the addition of this one mechanic, it's still those other things, you just get to add addicting to play on top of it. Jumping forwards, backwards, side to side in slow motion is just so fucking cool, man. I can't even come up with like a smart way to say it or like an interesting way to phrase it. It's just too damn cool. The campaign is only about 8 or so hours long, including my constant game overs and retries, which I'll get to later. So even though Max Payne really only has one thing separating it from other third-person shooters, it never got stale despite replaying parts of it for the video. If there is just one little thing I could nitpick about, because it wouldn't be a fucking Pizza Dad video if I didn't, it's the autosave system. Payne autosaves after every cutscene, which are very scarce throughout the different levels. And, like I said earlier, the game can quite often be pretty challenging. Oftentimes, you won't get an autosave for about 7 or so minutes. I don't know if you've timed out 7 minutes, but a lot of shit can happen in that time span. And like most older games, if you die, you have to go back to the most recent save, whether it be auto or manual. So, pretty much, if you want to get through the game without constantly replaying entire sections, then you need to save scum. Just save after every 30 seconds of gameplay, which can easily take you out of the overall experience, and I ain't really a huge fan of that. This is pretty much a quirk that comes with older gaming as a whole, not just Max Payne, but that doesn't mean that it's less annoying. I said like 10 seconds ago that Max Payne could occasionally get frustrating, and that's most likely due to the game's apparent use of dynamic difficulty. I should note that this has not been confirmed by anyone at Remedy as far as I know, so take this with a huge bucket of salt. Dynamic difficulty is basically the better you do, the harder the game gets, and vice versa. But because of the nature of it, it can easily be fucked up, and Payne takes it a bit too far, to the point where sometimes enemies can withstand multiple shotgun shells, or Molotov cocktails, or grenades, or anything that's usually a one-shot kill in other parts of the game, which is just plain bullshit. In terms of extra stuff in the game, there's not that much there. There's 3 extra difficulties, including New York Minute, which is essentially just a speedrunning mode. There's a secret final mission on the second to last difficulty, Dead on Arrival, which is basically just The Matrix. Also, that 4th wall break was trippy as shit. It was amazing. I loved it. One of my favorite parts of the game.
I was in a computer game. Funny as hell, it was the most horrible thing I could think of.
And that's about it. The music's great. Really good music. I have nothing else to fucking say. Max Payne, especially for the second title ever made by Remedy, is amazing. It stood the test of time extremely well and hasn't aged a day, outside of the graphics and some bullshit difficulty. It's an atmospheric, enjoyable noir story with addictive gameplay. Yeah, it didn't innovate too much, some of the cutscenes can be pretty fucking funny, and it can easily become repetitive for some, but to me, Max Payne was a hell of an experience to play through, which is why I highly recommend that anybody and everybody plays through this game, specifically on PC for obvious reasons. However, there is a bit of a bug with there being little to no audio in the game and the cutscenes, so you could easily find a fix online, but yeah. Besides that, PC version is pretty good. I didn't experience any crashing whatsoever. Ironically for this show, the PS2 was the worst way to play it due to the system's low RAM, so maybe don't play it there. I know, heresy. However, this isn't the end of Max Payne, not even close. The next game, with the subtitle The Fall of Max Payne, has the simple tagline of a neo-noir love story. And damn, is that going to be an interesting playthrough. Anyways, that's all I have to say on the one and only Max Payne. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz. I mean it. You think that I just say this for fun, that this is a game. It's not. Only 4% of you are subscribed. What the fuck? I thought I raised you better than this. 4 is great. It's an improvement on what it was last time I brought this up. I'm happy for that. However, I know damn well that there's more numbers out there. So get it up. Hit the subscribe button. You motherfucker. Oh my god.